Welcome to Warhammer 40k 8th edition Battle Report 27. 2,000 points, Dark Angels vs. Necrons, and this is the big rulebook Maelstrom of War mission Contact Lost. Let's begin by taking a quick look around the board at where the objective markers have been placed. So, beginning in this 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 2 has been placed right here next to this ruin. In the middle 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 4 has been placed next to this crater. In the third 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 1 has been placed up here next to this ruin. On the other side of the board, in this 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 5 has been placed next to this ruin. In the middle 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 3 has been placed up here next to this crater. And finally, in the last 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 6 has been placed right here next to this ruin. A reminder that both armies will have 8 command points available for this mission. And so now we will roll for the random map deployment, rolling a 5, which is frontline assault. So on a 1, 2, or 3, the Dark Angels will begin deploying on the left side, and the Necrons will begin deploying on the right. And on a 4, 5, or 6, it'll be the opposite. So Dark Angels on the right and Necrons on the left. So here's the roll for determining who deploys where. So the Dark Angels will deploy on the left and the Necrons will deploy on the right. On a 1, 2, or 3, the Dark Angels will begin deploying first, and on a 4, 5, or 6, the Necrons will begin deploying first. Rolling a 4, and so the Necrons will begin deploying first. We will be back after the deployment. So the deployment is now finished. The Necrons began to deploy first, and they also finished deploying first, which means that the Necrons will go first unless the Dark Angels are able to successfully seize the initiative. Let's take a quick look around the board at where each army placed all of their units. Beginning with the Necron deployment, since they finished first, going from left to right from their perspective, we have the first Annihilation Barge sitting on objective marker 5. Ghost Ark with squad of Necron warriors embarked inside. Squad of Necron warriors sitting on objective marker 3. Night Scythe in the back. And the squad of Immortals, Cryptek, and Overlord have been placed on the Tomb World. Squad of 6 Canoptic Wraiths. Second Annihilation Barge. Second Night Scythe. And second Ghost Ark with squad of Necron warriors embarked inside. And now over to the Dark Angels deployment, going from left to right from their perspective as well, beginning with a squad of Tactical Marines sitting on objective marker 2, second squad of Tactical Marines in the ruin, third and final squad of Tactical Marines sitting in the crater, squad of 6 Ravenwing Black Knights, Ravenwing Talonmaster, and all 3 units are currently holding objective marker 4, Land Raider Redeemer with Deathwing Knights and Belial embarked inside, the first Nephilim Jetfighter, Predator, and finally in this corner, the second Nephilim Jetfighter. So now the Dark Angels will attempt to seize the initiative, looking for a 6, and they fail to get it. So let's move into Necrons turn 1. Going into Necrons turn 1, a reminder that the Necrons have 8 command points available, and the Dark Angels also have 8 command points available. Because this is the big rulebook Maelstrom of War mission Contact Lost, at the beginning of the turn, the Necrons drew 1 new tactical objective card, and they drew Dust and Ashes. When this tactical objective is generated, nominate a Necron's character from your army, score 1 victory point at the end of the game if this character is alive and on the battlefield. And the Necrons will nominate their warlord, the Overlord. Going into the movement phase, because holding objective markers is important, even if you don't currently have a tactical objective card to hold a specific objective marker, since it will allow you to draw more tactical objective cards, this Annihilation Barge will remain still even though there are no enemy units within range of its guns. Next, this Ghost Ark is going to move up the board up to 12 inches, and it will finish its movement right here in this crater. Next, this squad of warriors is going to move up the board up to 5 inches to get themselves into that crater, and they will finish their movement like so. The models are extremely wobbly thanks to the edges of the crater, but they are all right about here, and they are still holding objective marker 3. Next, this squad of Wraiths is going to move up the board up to 12 inches, and they will also declare an advance. And here's their advance roll, rolling for 3 additional inches, which will give them 15 inches of total movement. And the Necrons are going to use the stratagem Adaptive Subroutines for 1 command point, bringing them from 8 down to 7. Use this stratagem after a canoptic unit from your army has advanced. This unit can still shoot and or charge this turn. And so the Wraiths will finish their movement right here with advancing, but thanks to that stratagem, they will still be able to charge this turn. Next, this Ghost Ark is going to move up the board up to 12 inches, and it will finish its movement right here, and it is now holding objective marker 6. This Annihilation Barge is now going to move up the board up to 12 inches over in this direction, and it will finish its movement right here. Next, this Night Scythe is going to pivot up to 90 degrees towards its left, and it will move up the board at least 20 inches, but no more than 60. And the Night Scythe will finish its movement right here. Next, this Night Scythe will do the same thing, pivoting up to 90 degrees to its left, and then moving up the board at least 20 inches, but no more than 60. And it will finish its movement right here. So going into the shooting phase, for Necron's turn 1, we will begin with this Ghost Ark, which will fire its 2 Gauze Flare arrays at full range into this squad of Tactical Marines, which is currently sitting on objective marker 2. 10 shots, hitting on 3s, getting 8 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, and getting 6 wounds. Minus 1 AP, but plus 1 AP thanks to the Ruin. So 6 3-up armor saves, and passing 3 and failing 3. And so all 3 regular Tactical Marines will be killed off, leaving only the Tactical Marine with Plasma Cannon and the Sergeant left alive. Next, this squad of 10 Necron warriors is going to fire their Gauze Flares at full range into this squad of 6 Ravenwing Black Knights. 10 shots, hitting on 3s, and getting 7 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 5s, and getting 3 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 3 4-up armor saves. Passing 1 and failing 2. So 1 Ravenwing Black Knight will be killed off. And now the Necrons are going to use the stratagem Methodical Destruction for 2 command points, bring them from 7 down to 5. Use this stratagem after a Sawtech unit from your army has inflicted an unsaved wound on an enemy unit. Add 1 to hit rolls for friendly Sawtech units that target the same unit this phase. So now this Annihilation Barge is going to fire everything that it has into this squad of Ravenwing Black Knights. Beginning with the Gauze Cannon, 3 shots hitting on 2s, getting 2 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, and getting 1 wound. Minus 3 AP, so 1 6-up armor save, which fails. And it will do D3 damage, and it will do 2 damage. So 1 more Ravenwing Black Knight is killed off. Now for the 8 shots from the Twin Tesla Destructor, hitting on 2s, getting 6 hits. However, because we are adding 1 to the hit rolls, that does mean that both 5s and 6s will activate Tesla. So getting a total of 16 hits out of 8 attacks. Strength 7 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, and getting 11 wounds. No AP, so 11 3-up armor saves. And they failed 7 of them, passing 4. But they are only 1 damage apiece, so that 7 damage will kill off 3 full regular Ravenwing Black Knights, and then it will also reduce the Sergeant from 2 wounds down to 1 left. Next, this Ghost Ark is going to fire its 2 Gauze Flare arrays at full range into this Predator. 10 shots, hitting on 3s, and getting 6 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 5s, and getting 2 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 2 4-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 1. And the Dark Angels are going to use a command point going from 8 down to 7 in order to re-roll the 1. And here's the reroll, and they pass, so no damage taken. Next, this Night Scythe is going to fire everything that it has into the 1 lone Ravenwing Black Knight Sergeant. 8 shots from the 2 Tesla Destructors, hitting on 2s, getting 5 hits, but thanks to the +1 to hit rolls, the 6 and the 5 will activate Tesla, which means we actually get 9 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s. Getting 6 wounds. 6 3-up armor saves, and failing 2 of them. And so that will mean that the lone Ravenwing Black Knight Sergeant with 1 wound left is killed off, which will finish off that squad, and that will result in first blood for the Necrons. Finally, this Night Scythe will fire everything that it has into this Predator. 8 shots with the 2 Tesla Destructors hitting on 3s, and getting 7 hits, but the 6 will activate Tesla, so actually getting 9 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 4s, and getting 5 wounds. No AP, so 5 3-up armor saves. Whoa! Rolling 5 1s. So that is 5 fails. So the Predator will fall from 11 starting wounds down to 6. Going into the assault phase for Necron's turn 1, there is 1 charge to declare, and that is these Canoptic Wraiths are going to declare multi-charge onto the Ravenwing Talonmaster and the squad of Tactical Marines, with the Ravenwing Talonmaster being the primary target. The Wraiths are 10.5 inches away from the Ravenwing Talonmaster, so they will need a 10-inch charge to make it in. And they are just under 11 inches away from the Tactical Marines, which means they would also need a 10-inch charge to make it within an inch of the Tactical Marines. So either way, they need a 10-inch charge. However, because the Tactical Marines are in a crater, they need to roll a 12 in order to make it into combat off of the charge with the Tactical Marines. But this way, since the Ravenwing Talonmaster is the primary target, as long as they can make it into combat with the Ravenwing Talonmaster, who they do not have to charge through a crater to get to, they can then pile in and also fight against the Tactical Marines since they are declaring a charge. So first we will resolve the Overwatch. And we will resolve the Overwatch from the Tactical Marines first, so the 4 bolt guns will be able to fire rapid fire. So 8 shots hitting on 6s, and rerolling 1s since they stayed still. So getting 2 hits, 2 rerolls, and 4 definite misses. And here's the rerolls. Getting 1 more hit. Strength 4 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 5s. Getting 1 wound. 1 3-up invulnerable save, which passes. Plasma Cannon will fire standard shots in order to not kill itself accidentally. D3 shots, getting 3 shots. Hitting on 6s, rerolling 1s, and getting 1 hit. Strength 7 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on a 3, and it wounds. 1 3-up invulnerable save, which passes. Now for the Ravenwing Talonmaster and his Overwatch. 12 shots from the Twin Assault Cannon, hitting on 6s, rerolling 1s, getting 2 hits, 4 rerolls, and 6 definite misses. And here's the rerolls. Failing to get any more hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s and getting 1 wound, but rerolling 1s thanks to himself. And here's the reroll, getting a 2nd wound. 2 3-up invulnerable saves, passing 1 and failing 1. So 1 Canoptic Wraith all the way at the back will fall from 3 starting wounds down to 2. Finally, the 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter hitting on 6s, rerolling 1s, getting 1 hit, 3 rerolls, and 2 definite misses. And here's the 3 rerolls, failing to get any more hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on a 4, and it wounds. 1 3-up invulnerable save, which passes. Now for the charge range, looking for at least 10, and they get 11, so they will definitely make it into combat with the Ravenwing Talonmaster, but they will not make it within an inch of the Tactical Marines, but they will still be able to pile in and fight. And so Wraiths will finish their charge like so, with these 3 on the edge already being within an inch of the Ravenwing Talonmaster, and these 3 currently aren't in combat, but now going into the fight phase, they will pile in. And because Wraiths are the most top-heavy model I've ever come across from Warhammer 40k, these 3 are within an inch and actually in base to base with the Tactical Marines, but they refuse to stand on the crater. So they are going to be laid on their side until some models are killed off and they can get a more stable position. But these 3 Wraiths are in base to base with the Tactical Marines. And so we will do the Wraiths first. So starting with the 9 attacks from the 3 Wraiths onto the Tactical Marines. 9 attacks with Vicious Claws hitting on 3s and getting 5 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s and getting 3 wounds. Minus 2 AP, so 3 5-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 2. So 2 regular tactical marines will go down. And now for the 9 attacks from the raids onto the Ravenwing Talonmaster with their vicious claws, hitting on 3s. And that's a lot of misses, getting 4 hits and 5 fails. So the Necrons are going to use 1 command point, going from 5 down to 4 for a command reroll to reroll one of the 2s. And here's the reroll, getting a 5th hit. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s, getting only 2 wounds. Minus 2 AP, so 2 5-up invulnerables, 2 5-up armor saves, failing both. And so now the Dark Angels will use 1 command point, going from 6 down to 5 in order to reroll the 3. And here's the reroll, and it still fails, rolling another 1. So 2 will go through, and they are 2 damage apiece. So the Ravenwing Talonmaster will fall from 6 starting wounds down to 2. And now the Dark Angels will strike back. Beginning with the Ravenwing Talonmaster, who will have 5 attacks with the Heavenfall Blade, hitting on 2s, getting 4 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s and re-rolling 1s, getting 1 wound, 2 fails, and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, getting another wound. 2 3-up invulnerable saves, failing 1 and a cock dice. So here's the reroll, and that one fails as well, so 2 fails. They are D3 damage each, but they have to be done separately because it could matter since the wounds don't carry over from model to model. So strike number 1 will do D3 damage, and it will do 2 damage. So that will finish off the 1 wounded Wraith. And the second strike will do D3 damage, and that will also do 2 damage. So the 1 wounded Wraith will lose its last 2 wounds and be killed off. And then a second Wraith will fall from 3 starting wounds down to 1. The Tactical Marines will now get to strike as well, and they have 4 attacks thanks to an extra 1 from the Sergeant. So 4 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 3 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 5s, rerolling 1s, thanks to the Ravenwing Talonmaster, and getting 2 wounds and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, getting a 3rd wound. 3 3-up invulnerable saves, passing 1 and failing 2. So the wounded Canoptic Wraith will lose its last wound and be removed from the battlefield. And now 1 more Wraith will fall from 3 starting wounds down to 2. I tried to set up the wounded Wraith now that the other 2 have been killed off, and he's still not exactly where he's supposed to be, as he's supposed to be in base-to-base with this plasma cannon, but for now he will be set there. We will move him as necessary in the future. So now going into the morale phase, this squad of Tactical Marines, remember the Sergeant is right here behind the corner. They did lose 3 models this turn, and the Sergeant only has a leadership of 8, so they could fail on a 6. So here's their morale check, and they pass. Next, this squad of Tactical Marines lost 2 models this turn, but thanks to the leadership of 8 that's on the Sergeant, it is impossible for them to fail. And finally, this unit of Canoptic Wraiths lost 2 models this turn, however they do have a leadership of 10, so it's impossible for them to fail. So taking a quick look at the tactical objective cards, obviously the game hasn't finished, and so the Necrons have not completed Dust and Ashes, and because of that they don't feel like potentially waiting 5 turns to score 1 victory point, so they will throw Dust and Ashes away. And so at the end of Necrons turn 1, the score currently sits at 1 victory point for the Necrons thanks to First Blood, and 0 victory points for the Dark Angels. Going into Dark Angels turn 1, I need to make one quick correction. In the previous turn, I misspoke and said that the Dark Angels would go from 6 down to 5 command points at one point, and I should have said they go from 7 down to 6. So the Dark Angels do still have 6 command points left, not 5, and the Necrons will have 4 command points available. And so at the beginning of their turn, since it is turn 1, the Dark Angels drew 1 tactical objective card, and they drew Mission Critical Objective. When this tactical objective is generated, roll a d6, score 1 victory point if you control the corresponding objective marker. If the corresponding objective marker was controlled by your opponent at the start of your turn, and you controlled it at the end of your turn, score d3 victory points instead. And here's the roll for which objective marker it will be, and it will be objective marker 5. And objective marker 5 is this one right here, currently being held by an annihilation barge from the Necrons. Going into the movement phase, for Dark Angel's turn 1, this Predator will remain still. This squad of Tactical Marines will remain still. This squad of Tactical Marines will also remain still. This squad of Tactical Marines will remain locked in combat with the Canoptic Wraiths. The Ravenwing Talonmaster will remain locked in combat with the Canoptic Wraiths. The Deathwing Knights and the Warlord Belial are going to disembark from the Landraider Redeemer, and they will disembark like so. Now Belial is going to move up to 5 inches up the board towards the Canoptic Wraiths, and Belial will finish his movement right here, just over an inch away from the Canoptic Wraiths. Next, the squad of Deathwing Knights will do the same thing, moving up the board up to 5 inches towards the Canoptic Wraiths, and they will finish their movement right there. Next, the Landraider Redeemer is going to move 10 inches up the board towards the Necron deployment zone and objective marker 1. And the Landraider Redeemer will finish up right here, now within 3 inches of the center of objective marker 1 and just over an inch away from the base of the Silver Knight Scythe. Next, this Nephilim jet fighter is going to move right up the board, at least 20 inches, but less than 50, and it will finish its movement right here. Now, this Nephilim jet fighter will finally do the same thing, moving straight up the board at least 20 inches, but less than 50, and it will finish its movement right there. Going into the shooting phase, for Dark Angel's turn 1, we will begin with this squad of Tactical Marines in combat with the Wraiths, and they will fire their bolt pistols into the Wraiths. So, 3 bolt pistol shots hitting on 3s, and getting 3 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 5s and re-rolling 1s, thanks to the Ravenwing Talonmaster, and a good thing too, rolling triple 1s. And here's the rerolls. Getting 1 wound. 1 3-up invulnerable save, which passes. Belial will now fire his Stormbolter at full range into the Silver Knight Scythe. 2 shots with the Stormbolter hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, and getting 2 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 5s and rerolling 1s since he's close enough to the Talonmaster, getting 1 definite fail and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, and it wounds. 1 3-up armor save, which passes. Next, this Tactical Marine squad of 2 models will fire, but only the Plasma Cannon can see, so just the Plasma Cannon will fire supercharged shots into this Ghost Ark. D3 shots, getting 2 shots. Hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, getting 1 hit. Strength 8, since it's supercharged against Toughness 6, means wounding on a 3, and it fails to wound. Next, this Tactical Marine squad will also fire into the same Ghost Ark, however, only the Plasma Cannon and the Sergeant can see. So, D3 supercharged shots from the Plasma Cannon and 1 bolt gun shot at full range. And here's the bolt gun shot first from the Sergeant, hitting on a 3 and it hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on a 5, and it fails to wound. D3 shots from the supercharged Plasma Cannon, getting 2 shots. Hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s since they stayed still, and a good thing too, getting 1 miss and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, getting a hit. Strength 8 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on a 3, and it fails to wound. Next, the Landraider Redeemer is going to fire everything that it has into the Silver Knight Scythe, starting with the 2 Flamestorm cannons, so 2 D6 shots, getting 7 shots, and the Dark Angels are going to use 1 command point, going from 6 down to 5, for a command reroll to reroll the 2. So here's the reroll on the number of shots, and there we go, getting 11 shots. This weapon automatically hits, so 11 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s, getting 7 wounds. Minus 2 AP, so 7 5-up armor saves, passing 2 and failing 5. And they are 2 damage apiece, so the Silver Knight Scythe will fall from 12 starting wounds down to 2. And now for the 12 shots from the Twin Assault Cannon, hitting on 4s. And apparently it might as well have been Overwatch, getting only 4 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s and getting 2 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 2 4-up armor saves. And passing both. This Nephilim jet fighter will now fire its 2 Black Sword missile launchers into the Silver Knight Scythe, and the Nephilim jet fighter will also fire its Avenger Mega Bolter and Twin Heavy Bolter into this squad of Necron warriors. So 2 shots from the Black Sword missile launchers, hitting on 4s, getting 1 hit. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on a 3, and it wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 1 6-up armor save, which fails. And because it is 2 damage, the Necrons will use 1 command point, going from 4 down to 3 for a command reroll in order to reroll the 3. So here's the reroll. Failed again anyways, rolling a 1, so the 2 damage will go through. And because that will kill off the Night Scythe, does it crash and burn on a 6? And it does not, rolling another 3. So the Silver Night Scythe loses its final 2 wounds, and it is removed from the battlefield. Now for the 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter onto the squad of Necron warriors. 6 shots hitting on 2s thanks to Strafing Run, and not that it really helped all that much because rolling 3 1s, but I guess it means that they got 3 hits instead of only 2. Strength 5 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s and getting 2 wounds. Minus 1 AP, but plus 1 AP thanks to the crater, so 2 4-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 1. So 1 Necron warrior will be removed. 10 shots from the Avenger Mega Bolter hitting on 2s. Still rolling way too many 1s. Getting 6 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s. Getting 4 wounds. 4 4-up armor saves, passing 2 and failing 2. So 2 more Necron warriors will go down, leaving 7 left alive in the squad. This Predator, now that it's down to 6 wounds, although that does mean that it's still at its highest tier on its damage chart, is going to fire everything that it has into this Annihilation Barge sitting on objective marker 5. Starting with 2 last cannon shots, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 9 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s and getting 1 wound. Minus 3 AP, so no armor save for the Annihilation Barge, and it will do D6 damage, and it will do 6 damage. But the Annihilation Barge does have quantum shielding, and so on a 5 less, and it rolls a 1 of course, but on a 5 or less, it ignores the damage, and so it does. So no damage. Now for the Predator autocannon, 2 D3 shots, getting just 3 shots, hitting on 3s, getting 3 3s, so 3 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s, getting 2 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 2 5-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 1. And it's 3 damage apiece, so 1 attempt at a 1 or a 2, which will go through. So 3 damage will go through after failing the quantum shielding onto the Annihilation Barge. So this Annihilation Barge will fall from 8 starting wounds down to 5. Finally, this Nephilim jet fighter, which is the last unit that needs to shoot in this shooting phase, will fire its Black Sword missile launchers and its Avenger Mega Bolter into the wounded Annihilation Barge, and then the final Nephilim jet fighter will fire its Twin Heavy Bolter into this wounded squad of Necron warriors. Starting with the 2 shots from the Black Sword missile launchers hitting on 3s, getting 1 hit. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on a 3, and it wounds. Minus 3 AP, so no armor save on the Annihilation Barge, but it will do 2 damage, so quantum shielding can deny it on a 1, and it will fail, so it will go through. So the Annihilation Barge will fall from 5 wounds down to 3. And now for the Avenger Mega Bolter, hitting on 3s, getting 7 hits out of 10 shots. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s, getting 4 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 4 4-up armor saves. And sorry, the Annihilation Barge only has a 4-up armor save, and since they are minus 1 AP, that means the 4 fails, needing 5-ups. So 3 fail, and 1 goes through, which means the Annihilation Barge is killed off, because it only has 3 wounds left. And the Necrons had already used a command point in the shooting phase, so they cannot attempt to reroll. So on a 6, will it explode? And it will not. So the Annihilation Barge will simply lose its 3 remaining wounds and be removed from the battlefield. Finally, the 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter hitting on 2s against the Necron warriors thanks to Strafing Run and getting all 6 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 4 4 means wounding on 3s. Getting 3 wounds. -1 AP, but +1 thanks to the crater, so 3 4-up armor saves. Passing 1 and failing 2. So 2 more Necron warriors will go down. So going into the assault phase, for Dark Angels turn 1, there are 2 charges to declare. First is Belial declaring a charge onto the Canoptic Wraiths, and second is the Deathwing Knights declaring a charge onto the Canoptic Wraiths. There is no overwatch since the Wraiths have no shooting attacks and they are also already locked in combat. And so we will start with Belial, who is just over an inch away, so he will automatically make it into combat. So now Belial is in base to base with the Canoptic Wraiths, and now we will roll for the charge range for the Deathwing Knights, since they do have multiple models and some of them are a little bit further away. So here's the Deathwing Knights charge range, getting 7 inches. And so now all of the Deathwing Knights are in base to base with the Wraiths. A reminder that this Wraith should be a little bit further up the board and base to base with that plasma cannon, but he's not because he's too top heavy and won't sit properly on the crater. So when the fight's over, we will resolve movement from the position where they should be if necessary. So all of the charges are complete, so we will now move into the fight phase, and we will begin with Belial onto the Canoptic Wraiths. So Belial has 4 attacks base with the Sword of Silence, hitting on 2s, getting 4 hits. This weapon always wounds on 2s, so looking for 4 2-ups, getting 4 wounds. 4 3-up and vulnerable saves, passing 3 and 1 cocked dice. And here's the cocked dice, which fails, of course. I'm pretty sure that if that dice hadn't ended up cocked, it would have been a save. So that's unfortunate for the Canoptic Wraiths. And it is 2 damage apiece, so that will finish off the remaining 2 wounds on the wounded Wraith. Which means now that the Wraith is dead, I can move the Deathwing Knight Sergeant to be where he actually would have been had the Wraith been in its proper position. Although not that it matters, because now the Deathwing Knights are going to pile in and they will fight next. Beginning with the Knight Master, who piled in, and all of the models are in combat anyways. 3 attacks with the Flail of the Unforgiven, hitting on 3s, and rerolling all fails thanks to Belial, getting 1 hit and 2 rerolls. And here's the 2 rerolls, getting 3 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s thanks to the Ravenwing Talon Master, getting 2 wounds and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, getting a 3rd wound. 3 3-up and vulnerable saves, passing 2 and failing 1. And so the Wraith right here on the edge, which is next to the Knight Master, will fall from 3 starting wounds down to 1, but unfortunately, thanks to the crater and all the models next to it, I can't put the wound counter right next to it. So this Canoptic Wraith's wound counter is over here. 8 attacks from the 4 Deathwing Knights and their Maces of Absolution onto the Canoptic Wraiths, hitting on 3s. Rerolling everything thanks to Belial. So getting 4 hits and 4 rerolls. And here's the 4 rerolls. Still only getting 2 more hits. Strength 8 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, and thank goodness for that. Getting 4 wounds and 2 rerolls thanks to the Ravenwing Talon Master. And here's the 2 rerolls, getting all 6 wounds. 6 3-up invulnerable saves, passing 3 and failing 3. And they are 3 damage apiece, so one of the fails will finish off the wounded Wraith, and the other 2 fails will finish off the 2 fully healthy Wraiths. So the entire squad of Wraiths is wiped out. And while I'm removing the Wraiths, I will also do the consolidation for the Knights in order to actually be able to get the Wraiths out of here. So the Wraiths have now been removed from the battlefield, and the Deathwing Knights have consolidated like so. So going into the morale phase, this squad of Necron warriors lost 5 models this turn, and they have a leadership of 10, so they could fail on a 6. So here's the morale check for the Necron warriors, and they pass. So now taking a look at the tactical objective cards for the Dark Angels, they did not complete Mission Critical Objective Marker 5. However, they did kill off the Annihilation Barge that was holding it, which means that now it is not being held by any Necron models. So potentially later in the game, they could move up and hold it. However, there are numerous Necrons in between the Dark Angels and that objective marker, since it's kind of on the other side of the board. And so because of that, the Dark Angels are going to elect to throw this tactical objective card away.
And so at the end of Dark Angels turn 1, the score currently sits at 0 victory points for the Dark Angels and 1 victory point for the Necrons. Going into Necrons turn 2, a reminder that the Necrons have 3 command points available, and the Dark Angels have 5 command points available.
Since the Annihilation Barge that was on Objective Marker 5 was killed off in Dark Angels turn 1, the Necrons are currently only holding 2 objective markers. They drew 2 new tactical objective cards, and they drew Blood and Guts, score 1 victory point if an enemy unit was destroyed during the fight phase of this turn. If 3 or more enemy units were destroyed during the fight phase of this turn, score D3 victory points instead. And defend Objective 1, score 2 victory points if you control Objective Marker 1 at the end of 2 consecutive turns. And Objective Marker 1 is this one right here, currently being held by this Land Raider. Also, at the beginning of the Necron turn, we need to resolve Reanimation Protocol on this squad of Necron warriors. There are 5 slain models in the squad, so rolling 5 dice, looking for 5 ups, and getting 1. So 1 model will come back. And so the slain model was returned right here. Going into the movement phase, for Necrons turn 2, this squad of Necron warriors that's now back up to 6 models will remain still. This Annihilation Barge is going to move across the board up to 12 inches over towards Objective Marker 3. And it will finish its movement right here. This Ghost Ark is going to disembark its squad of Necron warriors back here. And they will finish their disembarkation like so. Now the Ghost Ark is going to move up the board up to 12 inches. And it will finish its movement right there. Now this squad of Necron warriors will march up the board up to 5 inches. And they will finish their movement right here so that they better hold Objective Marker 6. Next, this Ghost Ark will disembark all of its Necron warriors out in front. And because the crater is in the way, because the Ghost Ark's sitting in the middle of the crater, I will also then move the Necron warriors up the board up to 5 inches at the same time in order to avoid having the models falling over on the crater. And so the warriors will finish up right here, just over an inch away from this Land Raider. Next, this Night Scythe is going to disembark units, and the Necrons are going to use a stratagem to go along with that. And so the Necrons are going to use the stratagem Enhanced Invasion Beam for 1 command point, going from 3 down to 2. Use this stratagem before you set up a unit from a Tomb World using the Invasion Beam ability of a Night Scythe from your army or the Eternity Gate ability of a Monolith from your army. You can set up 2 units from a Tomb World instead of 1. And so the Necrons set up the Overlord, their Warlord, and the squad of Immortals around the base of the Night Scythe. And now the Overlord is going to move up to 5 inches up the board. So the Overlord will finish here, just over an inch away from the Land Raider. And now these Immortals will move up the board up to 5 inches. And so the squad of Immortals will end up right here. This Ghost Ark will remain still. This Night Scythe is going to pivot up to 90 degrees to its right, so this direction, and it will move up the board at least 20 inches, but no more than 60. And it will finish up right here in this crater. Going into the shooting phase, for Necrons turn 2, we will begin with this squad of 10 Immortals, which will fire all of their weapons in rapid fire range into the Land Raider. 20 shots with the Gauze Blasters, hitting on 3s, getting 13 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 5s, and 1 cocked dice. So here's the cocked dice, which changed this dice, but either way it was not a wound. And getting 4 wounds. Minus 2 AP, so 4 up armor saves. Passing 3 and failing 1. And the Dark Angels are going to use a command point, going from 5 down to 4 for a command reroll to reroll the 3. And so here's the reroll, and it still fails. So 1 wound will go through. So the Land Raider will fall from 16 starting wounds down to 15. And that is important because now the Necrons can use the stratagem Methodical Destruction for 2 command points, which will bring them from 2 down to 0 left. Use this stratagem after a Sawtech unit from your army has inflicted an unsaved wound on an enemy unit. Add 1 to hit rolls for friendly Sawtech units that target the same enemy unit this phase. And so with that, this Annihilation Barge will fire everything that it has into the Land Raider Redeemer. Beginning with the Gauze Cannon, 3 shots hitting on 2s, getting 3 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 5s, unfortunately failing to wound. 8 shots from the Twin Tesla Destructor, hitting on 2s, getting all 8 hits. And thanks to adding 1 to hit rolls, the 5 and the 6 both pop Tesla, and so the Annihilation Barge actually got 12 hits out of 8 attacks. Strength 7 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 5s. And there's a cocked dice in there, and here's the reroll for the cocked dice, and getting 5 6s for 5 wounds. 5 2-up armor saves, and passing all of them. Now this Night Scythe will fire everything that it has into the Land Raider Redeemer. 8 shots from the 2 Tesla Destructors, hitting on 2s, getting all 8 hits. But there were 2 6s and 3 5s in there, so actually getting 18 hits out of 8 attacks. Strength 7 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 5s, and getting 8 wounds. 8 2-up armor saves, and only fails 1 of them. So the Land Raider will fall from 15 wounds down to 14. Now this squad of 10 Necron warriors will fire everything that they have into the Land Raider. 20 shots hitting on 2s, getting 16 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 6s, and getting 5 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 5 3-up armor saves, passing 4 and failing 1. So the Land Raider will fall from 14 wounds down to 13. Next, this Ghost Ark will fire everything that it has into the Land Raider. 20 shots hitting on 2s, getting 15 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 6s. No! And failing to wound. Wow, that's a bad roll. So now this squad of 6 Necron warriors is going to fire at full range into the Land Raider Redeemer. 6 shots hitting on 2s, getting 5 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 6s. Once again, failing to roll any 6s. Next, this Ghost Ark is going to fire everything that it has in rapid fire range into the squad of 2 Tactical Marines. 20 shots hitting on 3s, getting 17 hits, somehow doing better than the units that were hitting on 2s. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, getting 12 wounds. Minus 1 AP, but plus 1 AP thanks to the Ruin, so 12 3-up armor saves, and they only failed 4 of them, passing 8. But that will finish off the 2 remaining models holding on to Objective Marker 2. Finally, in the shooting phase, this squad of 10 Necron warriors will fire their Gauze Flares at full range into this squad of 5 Tactical Marines. 10 shots hitting on 3s, getting 9 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, getting 3 wounds. Minus 1 AP, but plus 1 AP thanks to the Ruin, so 3 3-up armor saves, and passing all 3. So moving on to the assault phase. For Necron's turn 2, there are 2 charges to declare. First is this squad of Necron warriors, which will charge into the Land Raider in order to absorb the Overwatch, so that then the Overlord, who is the Warlord, can charge into the Land Raider. So first, resolving Overwatch against the Necron warriors. 2 Flamestorm cannons means 2 D6 shots, getting 8 shots. This weapon automatically hits, so 8 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, getting 4 wounds. Minus 2 AP, so 4 6-up armor saves, failing all 4. So 4 Necron warriors will go down. Now for the 12 shots from the Twin Assault Cannon, hitting on 6s, getting 3 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, getting 2 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 2 5-up armor saves, and failing both. So 2 more Necron warriors will go down. And now for their charge range, getting 7 inches. And so thanks to rolling 7 inches, the warriors were able to move between the Land Raider and this Ruin to wrap themselves around the Land Raider like so that now they are also holding Objective Marker 1, and since they are troop choice, they get priority over the Land Raider. And so now the Overlord will charge in, and he is within 2 inches, so he will automatically make it in. And there is still enough space between the warriors. The Overlord can still make it within an inch of the Land Raider and make it into combat without having to suffer Overwatch. So moving into the fight phase, we will begin with the Overlord attacking the Land Raider. 3 attacks with the Void Reaper, hitting on 2s, getting 3 hits. Since the Land Raider is a vehicle, the Void Reaper has a strength value of 7 instead of always just wounding on 2s. So strength 7 versus toughness 8 means wounding on 5s. And failing to wound, of course. Now the 4 Necron warriors will attack, 1 attack apiece for 4 attacks total,
Hitting on 3s, getting 4 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 6s, and getting 1 wound. 1 2-up armor save, which fails of course, but the Dark Angels are going to use 1 command point going from 4 down to 3 for a command reroll in order to reroll the 1. So here's the reroll on the armor save, and it passes barely with a 2. So now the Land Raider can attack back, and he will place all of his attacks onto the Necron warriors. So 6 attacks hitting on 6s, getting 1 hit. Strength 8 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on a 2, and it wounds. No AP, so 1 4-up armor save, which passes. So going into the morale phase, for Necron's turn 2, this squad of Necron warriors did lose 6 models this turn, and so with their leadership of 10, they could fail. So here's their morale check roll, and they pass with a 2. So now taking a look at the tactical objective cards, the Necrons failed to kill anything in the fight phase, so they did not complete Blood and Guts. But thanks to those Necron warriors making it into combat with the Land Raider, they are now holding Objective Marker 1, which means they are now 1 turn into defending Objective 1. And with that, they will throw Blood and Guts away, but they will hold on to defend Objective 1.
And so at the end of Necron's turn 1, the score still currently sits at 1 victory point for the Necrons and 0 victory points for the Dark Angels. Going into Dark Angels turn 2, a reminder that the Dark Angels have 3 command points available, and the Necrons have 0 command points available.
The Dark Angels are currently only holding 1 objective marker, so they only draw 1 new tactical objective card, and they drew Secure Objective 2, score 1 victory point if you control Objective Marker 2 at the end of your turn. And Objective Marker 2 is this objective marker right here, which was being held by a squad of Tactical Marines, but that squad has since been wiped out, so it is currently not being held by anyone. So going into the movement phase, the Dark Angels will begin with this squad of Tactical Marines, which will move over in this direction up to 6 inches, and they will also declare an advance. And here's their advance roll, getting 6 additional inches for 12 inches of total movement. And so thanks to their lucky advance roll, this Tactical Marine squad is now set up exactly like the previous squad was, holding Objective Marker 2 and fully within the ruin. This squad of Tactical Marines sitting on Objective Marker 4 and also sitting within the crater will remain still. This Land Raider Redeemer is going to fall back out of combat up to 10 inches. And it will fall back to almost its original position, making sure to stay over an inch away from the base of the Black Knight Scythe. This Predator will remain still. The Dark Angels are also going to use the stratagem Intractable for 2 command points, bringing them from 3 down to 1 left. Use this stratagem after one of your Dark Angels units has fallen back. That unit can still shoot this turn, and the target of this stratagem will obviously be the Land Raider Redeemer. Belial is now going to move up the board up to 5 inches, and he will also declare an advance. And here's Belial's advance roll, getting 2 additional inches for 7 inches of total movement. And Belial will finish his advance right here. Next, this squad of Deathwing Knights is going to move over this direction up to 5 inches, and they will also declare an advance. And here's the advance roll from the Deathwing Knights, also getting 2 additional inches for 7 inches of total movement. And they will finish their movement right here. Finally, the Ravenwing Talonmaster is also going to move 16 inches over towards the Necron Overlord. He will also declare an advance. So here's advance roll for the Ravenwing Talonmaster, rolling 4 additional inches for 20 inches of total movement. And the Ravenwing Talonmaster with his 2 remaining wounds will end up right here. And now the Dark Angels will use the stratagem Speed of the Raven for 1 command point, bringing them from 1 down to 0 left. Use this stratagem when one of your Raven Wing units advances. That unit can still shoot and charge this turn, and that will be used on the Raven Wing Talonmaster. Next, this Nephilim Jet Fighter is going to turn up to 90 degrees to its left and move up the board at least 20 inches, but no more than 50. And the Nephilim Jet Fighter will finish its movement right here. Finally, this Nephilim Jet Fighter will pivot up to 90 degrees to its left and move up the board at least 20 inches, but no more than 50. And it will finish its movement right here. So going into the shooting phase, for Dark Angels turn 2, we will begin with this Land Raider Redeemer, which thanks to the stratagem can now shoot even though it fell back this turn, and it will fire everything that it has into the Black Night Scythe. Beginning with the 2 Flamestorm cannons, so 2 D6 shots, getting 6 shots. This weapon automatically hits, so getting 6 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s. Rerolling 1s thanks to the Ravenwing Talonmaster being within 6 inches. So getting 3 wounds, 2 fails, and 1 reroll. And rerolling the wound, which gets a 4th wound. Minus 2 AP, so 4 5-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 3, and they are 2 damage apiece. So the Night Scythe will fall from 12 starting wounds down to 6. 12 shots from the Twin Assault Cannon, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s thanks to Belial. Getting 6 hits and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll. Getting a 7th hit. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s thanks to the Ravenwing Talonmaster. Getting 2 wounds and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll. Getting a 3rd wound. Minus 1 AP, so 3 4-up armor saves. And fails all 3 of them. So the Night Scythe will fall from 6 wounds remaining down to 3. Next, this Nephilim jet fighter will fire at 3 separate targets. It will fire its 2 Black Sword missile launchers into the Night Scythe, its Twin Heavy Bolter into this squad of Necron warriors, and its Avenger Mega Bolter into this squad of Immortals. Beginning with the 2 Black Sword missile launcher shots, hitting on 4s, getting 1 hit. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on a 3, and it wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 1 6-up armor save, which fails, and it will do 2 damage. So the Night Scythe will fall from 3 wounds down to 1 left. 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter onto the Necron warriors, hitting on 2s thanks to Strafing Run, getting 5 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, getting 4 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 4 5-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 3. So 3 Necron warriors will go down, leaving 1 left alive in the squad. 10 shots from the Avenger Mega Bolter, hitting on 2s onto the Immortals, getting 8 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, and getting 5 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 5 4-up armor saves, passing 3 and failing 2. So 2 Immortals will go down. The other Nephilim jet fighter will now do the exact same thing. So the 2 Black Sword missile launchers into the Night Scythe, the Twin Heavy Bolter into the Necron Warrior squad, which is now down to 1 model, and the Avenger Mega Bolter into the squad of Immortals. Beginning with the Black Sword missile launcher shots, hitting on 4s, getting 1 hit. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on a 3, and it wounds. Minus 3 AP means a 1 6-up armor save, which fails, and no command points for a reroll, so that will remove the final wound on the Night Scythe, and on a 6 will it crash and burn, and it will not. And so the Night Scythe will lose its final wound, and it is removed from the battlefield. This will also mean, of course, that the Cryptek, who is still on the Tomb World, is also slain, as he no longer has a way to make it onto the battlefield. 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter onto the lone Necron Warrior, hitting on 2s and getting 6 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s and getting 4 wounds. Minus 1 AP means 4 5-up armor saves, passing 1 but failing 3. And so this Necron Warrior squad is wiped out. And so now the 10 shots from the Avenger Mega Bolter onto the squad of Immortals, hitting on 2s, getting 8 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, getting 6 wounds. Minus 1 AP means 6 4-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 5, no rerolls. So 5 more Necron Immortals are killed off, leaving 3 left alive in the squad. This squad of Tactical Marines is going to have the Plasma Cannon fire supercharged shots into the squad of Immortals, and the 2 bolt guns from the 1 regular Tactical Marine and the Sergeant will fire at full range into this squad of Necron Warriors. So beginning with the Plasma Cannon, D3 supercharged shots and getting 3 shots. Hitting on 3s, getting 3 hits. Strength 8 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 2s, getting 3 wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 3 6-up armor saves, passing 1 but failing 2. And so 2 more Immortals will go down, leaving 1 left alive in the squad. And now for the 2 bolt guns going into the squad of Necron Warriors, hitting on 3s 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, getting 1 wound. No AP, but plus 1 AP thanks to the crater, so 1 3-up armor save, which still fails. And so 1 Necron warrior will go down, leaving 5 left alive in the squad. So now the Ravenwing Talonmaster will fire his twin Heavy Bolter into the Immortal and his twin Assault Cannon into the Overlord. Starting with the 6 shots from the twin Heavy Bolter, hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s thanks to Belial, getting 5 hits and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll. Still failing to hit. Strength 5 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, but getting 5 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 5 4-up armor saves. Passing 3 and failing 2. And so the final Immortal is killed off. And now for the 12 shots from the Twin Assault Cannon into the Overlord, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. Getting 9 hits and 2 rerolls, and 1 definite miss. And here's the 2 rerolls, getting 11 hits total. Strength 6 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s. Getting 9 hits and 2 rerolls. And here's the 2 rerolls, getting 1 more wound, for 10 wounds total. Minus 1 AP, so 10 4-up invulnerable saves. Passing 5 and failing 5. And the Overlord only has 5 wounds, so that kills him off, and the Necrons have no way to save him. The Overlord is the Warlord for the Necrons, and so that will give Slay the Warlord to the Dark Angels. But as I was looking over his stat sheet to figure out how many wounds he had and found out that he was killed off from that one attack, I also discovered that I had given him the Warlord trait, Eternal Madness, which states that he can reroll failed wound rolls on a turn that he charged, was charged, or perform a heroic intervention. Well, if I remember correctly from Necron's turn 2, when he charged the Land Raider, he rolled for his 3 attacks and hit with all 3, and then failed to wound with all 3, so he should technically have re-rolled all 3 wound rolls. So we will go back for just a second here to do those re-rolls. Now, as long as he doesn't take the Land Raider below 9 wounds, it wouldn't have affected the shooting from the Land Raider anyways. If he does take him below 9 wounds, then we've got a different problem. But here's the 3 re-rolls, and of course, wounding on 5, so getting 2 wounds off of the re-rolls. And they are minus 4 AP, so the Land Raider will have 2 6-up armor saves, and fails both of them. And they are 3 damage apiece, so that will take the Land Raider from 13 wounds down to 7, and so now we've got a problem. So I went back and took a look at the footage, and first and foremost, I had to move the Land Raider because the Land Raider only has 5 inches of movement in its second tier of damage, so it drops from 10 inches of movement down to 5, and so I had to move it back up the board to about where it would have ended up if it had only fallen back 5, because it did not fall back the full 10 thanks to the night side that was partially in the way. So I moved him about where he should be. The other thing is I took a look at what happened when the Land Raider shot its twin assault cannon, because obviously the Flamestorm cannons automatically hit, so that would not have been affected by the number of wounds on the model. And luckily, the Land Raider, when it shot at the Night Scythe, I mistakenly said that it hit on 4s because I thought it still had full wounds, when in reality it should have hit on 5s, re-rolling 1s, instead of 4s, re-rolling 1s, and luckily it only rolled 1 4. And thankfully, from the Black Sword missile launcher from the final Night Scythe, it did 1 point of overkill. So even if that 4 had resulted in a wound, which it shouldn't have because it shouldn't have counted as a hit, that Night Scythe was still perfectly killed off by the Dark Angels this turn. So we don't have to go back and redo any of the shooting. We will just say that the 1 hit roll of a 4 should not have counted, and with that, we will just simply discredit one of the wound rolls that made it through past the armor save of the Night Scythe, and the Night Scythe was still killed off thanks to the 2 damage Black Sword missile launcher shots from the Nephilim jet fighters. So we don't have to go back and redo anything. I have put the Land Raider about where it should be, and I do apologize about forgetting the Warlord trait on the Overlord. This is a learning experience for me. This is why it's always important to always go back and double check everything possible before moving forward. So I thank you for your patience. I think we've got everything squared up to where it should be, and now let's continue. So now finally, the last unit that needs to shoot in the Dark Angels shooting phase for Dark Angels turn 2 will be this Predator, which at 6 wounds is still in its top tier on its damage chart, and it will fire everything that it has into this Ghost Arc. Starting with the 2 last cannon shots, hitting on 3s, getting 1 hit. Strength 9 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on a 3, and it wounds. Minus 3 AP means no armor save for the Ghost Arc, since it can't take advantage of the crater. So D6 damage, and it will do 3 damage. The quantum shielding from the Ghost Arc can ignore it on a 1 or 2, and it will not, rolling a 5. So this Ghost Arc will fall from 14 starting wounds down to 11. And now for 2 D3 shots from the Predator autocannon, doing 5 shots, hitting on 3s, getting 3 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s, getting 2 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 2 5-up armor saves, and fails both of them. 3 damage apiece, so the quantum shielding can attempt to deny on 1s or 2s. So of course the double 1s from before would have been perfect for quantum shielding, and now rolling a 6 and a 3, which means both of them will fail and go through. So that will be 6 damage total. So this Ghost Arc will fall from 11 wounds down to 5. Going into the assault phase for Dark Angels turn 2, there are no charges to declare, and because of that, there are no fights to resolve. And so going into the morale phase, this squad of Necron warriors lost 1 model this turn. However, they have a leadership of 10, so it's impossible for them to fail. So taking a look at the tactical objective cards, the Dark Angels have successfully secured objective 2 for 1 victory point, thanks to the tactical Marine squad moving and advancing over.
And so at the end of Dark Angels turn 2, the score currently sits at 2 victory points for the Dark Angels thanks to Slay the Warlord, and 1 victory point for the Necrons thanks to First Blood. Going into Necrons turn 3, a reminder that the Necrons have 0 command points available, and the Dark Angels also have 0 command points available.
A reminder that the Necrons held on to defend objective 1 from the previous turn, and they are currently 1 turn into holding objective marker 1. However, they no longer have any units or models on objective marker 1, and so if they do not get any models onto objective marker 1, they will lose all of their progress on this tactical objective card. And the Necrons are currently holding 2 objective markers. They drew 2 more tactical objective cards, and they drew mission critical objective. When this tactical objective is generated, roll a d6, score 1 victory point if you control the corresponding objective marker. If the corresponding objective marker was controlled by your opponent at the start of your turn and you control it at the end of your turn, score d3 victory points instead. And here's the roll for the objective marker, and it will be objective marker 6. And the Necrons also drew no prisoners. Score 1 victory point if an enemy unit was destroyed during your turn. If between 3 and 5 enemy units were destroyed during your turn, score d3 victory points instead. If 6 or more enemy units were destroyed during your turn, score d3 plus 3 victory points instead. And objective marker 6 is this one right here, currently being held by a squad of Necron warriors. And a reminder that objective marker 1 is this one right here, and it is currently being held by the Ravenwing Talonmaster, who is within 3 inches of the center of the objective marker. At the beginning of the turn, thanks to Living Metal, the Ghost Arc will regain 1 lost wound, going from 5 back up to 6. And we will also resolve Reanimation Protocol for this squad of 5 Necron warriors. There are 5 slain models from the group, so looking for 5 ups, and they get 3, so 3 models will return. And the squad is now back up to 8 models. Going into the movement phase, for Necron's turn 3, this squad of 8 Necron warriors will remain still. This Annihilation Barge will also remain still. This squad of 10 Necron warriors will remain still. This Ghost Arc will move up to 12 inches up the board. And the Ghost Arc will finish right here, making sure to stay over an inch away from these tactical Marines. Finally, in the movement phase, this Ghost Arc, which is now down to 6 wounds, will move up to 8 inches over in this direction. And the Ghost Arc will finish its movement right here, and it is now contesting the Ravenwing Talonmaster for objective marker 1. The Ghost Arc is making sure to keep its hull over an inch away from the base of the Ravenwing Talonmaster, because the Ravenwing Talonmaster measures all of its distances to and from the base, even though the hull of the land speeder spills out over it. So now going into the shooting phase for Necron's turn 3, we will will begin with this Ghost Ark firing everything that it has into the Ravenwing Talonmaster. 20 shots hitting on 4s, now that he's down to 6 wounds, and getting a very solid 15 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 5s. Getting 7 wounds. -1 AP, so 7 4-up armor saves. Passing 3 and failing 4. And it only has 2 wounds left, so that will kill it. Does the Ravenwing Talonmaster explode on a 6? And it does not. So the Ravenwing Talonmaster will lose his final 2 wounds and be removed from the battlefield. This does mean, of course, that the Ghost Ark is now solely controlling Objective Marker 1. Next, this squad of 10 Necron warriors will fire their Gauss flares at full range into this squad of tactical marines. 10 shots hitting on 3s, getting 9 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, getting 4 wounds. -1 AP, but +1 AP thanks to the Ruin, so 4 3-up armor saves, passing 3 and failing 1. So 1 tactical marine will go down. Next, this Ghost Ark will fire everything that it has into the same squad of tactical marines. 20 shots hitting on 3s. Ouch. Getting 9 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, getting 4 wounds. -1 AP, but +1 AP thanks to the Ruin, so 4 3-up armor saves, and they passed all 4. This squad of 8 Necron warriors will fire their Gauss flares into this squad of tactical marines. 8 shots hitting on 3s, getting 6 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s. Wow, and only getting 1 wound. -1 AP, but +1 AP thanks to the crater, so 1 3-up armor save, which passes. So now finally this Annihilation Barge will fire everything that it has into this squad of tactical marines. Starting with the Gauss Cannon, 3 shots hitting on 3s, getting 1 hit. Strength 6 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on a 3, and it wounds. -3 AP, but +1 thanks to the crater, so 1 5-up armor save, which fails. So the final regular tactical marine will be killed off. Now for the 8 shots from the Twin Tesla Destructor hitting on 3s, getting 4 hits, but one of them is a 6, so actually getting 6 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, getting 5 wounds. No AP, but +1 thanks to the crater, so 5 2-up armor saves, and they passed all 5. So going into the assault phase, there are no charges to declare. So going into the fight phase, there are no fights to resolve. And so going into the morale phase, this squad of tactical marines lost 1 model this turn. However, the sergeant has leadership of 8, so it's impossible for them to fail. This squad of tactical marines also lost 1 model this turn. However, same situation, sergeant has leadership of 8, and so it is impossible for them to fail. And so taking a look at the tactical objective cards for the Necrons, they did finally finish defending Objective 1 for 2 victory points, thanks to the Ghost Ark moving up and taking back control. They did complete Mission Critical Objective 6 for 1 victory point, since they were holding it themselves at the beginning of the turn. And thanks to the Ghost Ark killing off the final few wounds on the Ravenwing Talonmaster, which was the only Dark Angels unit to be killed off this turn, they do get 1 victory point for no prisoners.
And so at the end of Necrons turn 3, the score currently sits at 5 victory points for the Necrons and 2 victory points for the Dark Angels. Going into Dark Angels turn 3, a reminder that the Dark Angels have 0 command points available, and the Necrons also have 0 command points available.
So going into Dark Angels turn 3, the Dark Angels currently are holding 2 objective markers, and so they drew 2 new tactical objective cards, and they drew Defend Objective 6, score 2 victory points if you control Objective Marker 6 at the end of 2 consecutive turns, and Secure Objective 5, score 1 victory point if you control Objective Marker 5 at the end of your turn. And Objective Marker 6 is this one right here, currently being held by a squad of Necron warriors. And Objective Marker 5 is this one right here, within the Necron deployment zone, currently not being held by anybody. Going into the movement phase for Dark Angels turn 3, this squad of tactical marines will remain still. This squad of tactical marines will also remain still. This squad of Deathwing Knights will all move over in this direction up to 5 inches, which will then put them all within range to be able to embark onto the Land Raiders. So these Deathwing Knights will all embark onto the Land Raider. The Land Raider is now going to move up the board up to 5 inches. And it will finish its movement right here, over an inch away from the Ghost Ark. This Predator is now going to move up the board up to 12 inches. And it will finish its movement right here, now contesting the Ghost Ark for objective marker 1. Belial is now going to move over in this direction up to 5 inches. And he will also declare an advance. And here's the advance roll for Belial, getting 6 additional inches for up to 11 inches of total movement. And Belial really only moved about 7 just to get to about here. This Nephilim jet fighter is now going to pivot slightly to its left, and then it will move up the board up to 20 inches, but no more than 50. And it will finish its movement right here. Finally, this Nephilim jet fighter will also pivot slightly to its left and move up the board at least 20 inches, but no more than 50. And it will finish its movement right here. Going into the shooting phase, we will begin with this Nephilim jet fighter, which will fire its Avenger Mega Bolter and Twin Heavy Bolter into this squad of Necron warriors, and it will fire its 2 Black Sword missile launchers into the Ghost Ark all the way back here. So starting with the 2 Black Sword missile launcher shots, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s, getting 2 wounds. Minus 3 AP, so no armor save for the Ghost Ark, and they are 2 damage piece, so the Quantum Shielding can attempt to deny on 1s. And it will deny one of them, so only 2 damage will go through. So this Ghost Ark will fall from 14 starting wounds down to 12. 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter, hitting on 2s thanks to strafing running, getting 6 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, getting 5 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 5 up armor saves. Wow, and passing 4 but failing 1. So 1 Necron warrior will go down. And now for the 10 shots from the Avenger Mega Bolter, hitting on 2s. And rolling lots of 1s, getting only 6 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, getting only 3 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 3 5-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 2. So 2 more Necron warriors will go down, leaving 7 left alive. And now this Nephilim jet fighter, the one with the white wings, will do the exact same thing. 2 Black Sword missile launcher shots into the Ghost Ark, and Avenger Mega Bolter and Twin Heavy Bolter into the Necron warriors. 2 shots from the Black Sword missile launchers, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s, getting only 1 wound. Minus 3 AP, so no armor save, but Quantum Shielding will deny on a 1, and it successfully denies. 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter onto the Necron warriors, hitting on 2s, getting 6 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, and getting 4 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 4 5-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 3. So 3 more Necron warriors will go down. And now for 10 shots from the Avenger Mega Bolter, hitting on 2s, getting 8 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s. Wounding on 3s. And I knocked over one of the dice when picking out the fails, but there were 4 wounds in there. Minus 1 AP, so 4 5-up armor saves. Wow! And they passed 3 of them, failing only 1. So 1 more Necron warrior will go down, leaving 3 left alive in the squad. Next, this Tactical Marine squad will fire. The Sergeant can only see the Ghost Ark, so he will throw a crack grenade into the Ghost Ark, while the 2 regular Tactical Marines will fire their bolt guns at full range into the squad of Necron warriors, and the Plasma Cannon will fire supercharged shots into the Necron warriors, which he can see. So, starting with the 2 bolt gun shots onto the Necron warriors, hitting on 3s, getting 1 hit. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on a 4, and it wounds. No AP, so 1 4-up armor save, which passes. D3 supercharged shots from the Plasma Cannon, getting 2 shots. Hitting on 3s, getting 1 hit. Strength 8 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on a 2, and it wounds. Minus 3 AP, so no armor save. So 1 more Necron warrior will be killed off, leaving 2 left alive in the squad. And now for the crack grenade onto the Ghost Ark, hitting on a 3, and it hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on a 4, and it wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 1 5-up armor save, which fails, and it will do D3 damage, and it will do 3 damage. So Quantum Shielding will attempt to deny on 1 or 2 and fail to deny. So 3 damage will go through. So the Ghost Ark will fall from 12 wounds down to 9. Next, this Tactical Marine squad will fire everything that they have into this Ghost Ark. starting with the 1 bolt gun shot from the sergeant, hitting on a 3, and it hits. Strength 4 versus toughness 6 means wounding on a 5, and it wounds. No AP, so 1 4-up armor save, which fails of course, and it only does 1 damage, so quantum shielding cannot deny. So the Ghost Arc will fall from 9 wounds down to 8. And now for D3 supercharged shots from the plasma cannon, doing 3 shots, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s thanks to staying still, getting 2 hits and a reroll. And here's the reroll, getting a 3rd hit. Strength 8 versus toughness 6 means wounding on 3s, getting 3 wounds. Minus 3 AP, so no armor save for the Ghost Arc. And they are 2 damage apiece, so quantum shielding can deny on rolls of 1, and fails all 3. So that will be 6 damage that goes through. So this Ghost Arc will now fall from 8 wounds down to 2. Next, the Land Raider Redeemer will fire both of its Flamestorm cannons into the injured Ghost Arc next to it, and it will fire its Twin Assault Cannon into this Annihilation Barge. First, the Flamestorm cannons onto the Ghost Arc, 2 D6 shots, getting 10 shots. This weapon automatically hits, so 10 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s, and getting 7 wounds. Minus 2 AP, so 7 6-up armor saves. Passing 1 and failing 6. So that is 12 damage that goes through. But since they are 2 damage apiece, the quantum shielding can deny them on rolls of 1. And it will save 2 of them, but that means that 4 will go through at 2 damage apiece, so that will be 8 damage taken onto the Ghost Arc, which only has 6 wounds left. So will the Ghost Arc explode on a 6? And it will not. So the Ghost Arc is simply killed off and removed from the battlefield. And now 12 shots from the Twin Assault Cannon, hitting on 4s on the Annihilation Barge since the Land Raider's down to 7 wounds left, rerolling 1s thanks to Belial. Getting 8 hits, 2 definite misses, and 2 rerolls. And here's the 2 rerolls, getting 1 more hit. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s. Getting 4 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 4 5-up armor saves. Passing 1 and failing 3. And they're only 1 damage apiece, so no quantum shielding. So this Annihilation Barge will fall from 8 starting wounds down to 5. Finally, this Predator will fire everything that it has into the wounded Annihilation Barge. Since the Predator has 6 wounds left, he is still at his top tier on his damage chart. However, since he moved, he must subtract 1 from hit rolls with heavy weapons. So starting with the 2 last cannon shots, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s, and of course rolling double 3s. And finally, 2 D3 shots with the Predator autocannon, doing just 3 shots, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s, getting a hit, a miss, and a reroll. And here's the reroll. Still rolling a 1. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on a 3, and it wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 1 5-up armor save, which fails. And it does 3 damage per shot, so 1 attempt with quantum shielding to deny on a 1 or 2, which fails. So 3 damage will go through. So the Annihilation Barge will fall from 5 wounds down to 2 left. Moving into the assault phase, we have 1 charge to declare, which will be this squad of Tactical Marines declaring a charge onto the Ghost Arc. So resolving Overwatch first, 20 shots, hitting on 6s, getting 2 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, getting 2 wounds. Minus 1 AP, but plus 1 thanks to the Ruin means 2 3-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 1. So 1 regular Tactical Marine will go down. And now for their charge distance, getting 10 inches. So now the Tactical Marines are in base-to-base contact with the hull of the Ghost Arc, and we will resolve the attacks from the Tactical Marines first. 4 attacks from the Tactical Marines, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 5s. And getting 2 wounds. No AP, so 2 4-up armor saves, passing both. The Ghost Arc, now that it's down to 2 wounds, only has 1 attack, hitting on a 6, which hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on a 3, which fails with a 2. So going into the morale phase, this squad of Tactical Marines lost 1 model this turn. However, Sergeant has leadership of 8, so it's impossible for them to fail. This squad of Necron Warriors, however, lost 8 models this turn, and they do have a leadership of 10, but they could very easily fail and have the rest of the squad wiped out. And so here's the morale test for the Warriors, and they rolled a 4, which is just enough to finish off the squad, because they failed by 2. So this squad of Necron Warriors is wiped out. and the Necrons are no longer holding objective marker 6. And so taking a look at the tactical objective cards for the Dark Angels, they have not begun to defend objective 6, and they have not secured objective 5. And so at this point, they will throw defend objective 6 away.
And so at the end of Dark Angels turn 3, the score currently sits at 2 victory points for the Dark Angels and 5 victory points for the Necrons. Going into Necrons turn 4, a reminder that the Necrons have 0 command points available, and the Dark Angels also have 0 command points available.
The Necrons are currently only holding 1 objective marker, so they drew 1 new tactical objective card, and they drew Age of the Machine. Score 1 victory point if at least 1 enemy vehicle model was destroyed during this turn. If at least 3 enemy vehicle models were destroyed during this turn, score D3 victory points instead. If any of the destroyed vehicles was Titanic, score an additional 3 victory points. Also, at the beginning of the turn, thanks to Living Metal, this Annihilation Barge will go back up from 2 wounds to 3. This Ghost Arc will go back up thanks to Living Metal from 2 wounds to 3. And we will also resolve Reanimation Protocol for this squad of Necron Warriors. There are 2 slain models in the group, so rolling 2 dice looking for 5 ups, and one of them will come back. And so now the squad of Necron Warriors is back up to 9 models. So going into the movement phase, this squad of 9 Necron Warriors will remain still. This Annihilation Barge will also remain still. And this Ghost Arc is going to fall back out of combat. And he will finish like so. So now going into the shooting phase for Necrons turn 4, this Ghost Arc will fire everything that it has into this squad of Tactical Marines. 20 shots hitting on 5s now that he's down to 3 wounds. Getting 6 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s. Getting 4 wounds. The Tactical Marines are no longer in the ruin, so minus 1 AP means 4 4-up armor saves, and they pass all 4 of them. Now this Annihilation Barge will fire everything that it has into this Predator. 3 shots from the Gauze Cannon, hitting on 3s, getting 3 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 5s, and failing to wound. 8 shots from the Twin Tesla Destructor, hitting on 3s, getting 5 hits, but 2 of them were 6s, so actually getting 9 hits thanks to Tesla. Strength 7 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 4s, getting 5 wounds, no AP, so 5 3-up armor saves, passing 3 and failing 2. So the Predator will fall from 6 wounds down to 4. And now all 9 Necron Warriors will fire their Gauze Flares at full range into the Predator. 9 shots, hitting on 3s. Getting 5 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 5s. Getting 3 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 3 4-up armor saves. Passing 1 and failing 2. So the Predator will fall from 4 wounds down to 2 left. So going into the assault phase, there are no charges to declare. Going into the fight phase, there are no fights to resolve. And going into the morale phase, there are no morale checks to take. So taking a look at their tactical objective cards, they failed to complete Age of the Machine, but they will hold on to it since the Predator is down to 2 wounds.
And so at the end of Necrons turn 4, the score currently sits at 5 victory points for the Necrons and 2 victory points for the Dark Angels. Going into Dark Angels turn 4, a reminder that the Dark Angels have 0 command points available, and the Necrons also have 0 command points available.
Also, a reminder that the Dark Angels held on to secure Objective 5 from the previous turn. And the Dark Angels are currently holding 3 objective markers. They drew 3 new tactical objective cards. And so first, they drew Secure Objective 4, score 1 victory point if you control Objective Marker 4 at the end of your turn. Advance, score 1 victory point if no unit from your army is within your deployment zone at the end of your turn. And Witch Hunter, score 1 victory point if at least 1 enemy Psyker was destroyed during this turn. So going into the movement phase, this Predator will remain still. This squad of Tactical Marines will also remain still. This Tactical Marine squad will remain still. The Deathwing Knights are now going to disembark from this Land Raider, and the Deathwing Knights will disembark right to there. Now the Deathwing Knights will move up the board up to 5 inches, and they will finish their movement right there. Now this Land Raider Redeemer will move up to 5 inches up the board. and it will finish its movement right here. Next, Belial will move up to 5 inches up the board, and he will finish his movement right here, making sure to stay within 6 inches of the Predator and the Land Raider to give them reroll hit rolls of 1. Next, the Nephilim jet fighter with white wings will pivot up to 90 degrees to its left and move up the board at least 20 inches, but no more than 50. And it will finish its movement right here. Finally, the Nephilim jet fighter with gray wings will do the same thing, pivoting up to 90 degrees to its left and then moving up the board at least 20 inches, but no more than 50. And it will finish its movement somewhat wobbly on top of that crater. So we will start with the Predator, that's now down to 2 wounds, firing everything that it has into the Annihilation Barge. 2 shots from its last cannons, hitting on 5s now that it's down to 2 wounds, and re-rolling 1s thanks to Belial, getting a miss and a reroll. And here's the reroll, still failing to hit. 2 D3 shots from the Predator autocannon, getting 5 shots. Hitting on 5s, re-rolling 1s, getting 1 hit. Strength 7 versus toughness 6 means wounding on a 3, which fails to wound. The Land Raider Redeemer will fire its 2 Flamestorm cannons into the squad of 9 Necron warriors, and it will fire its twin assault cannon into the Annihilation Barge. So starting with 2 D6 shots from the 2 Flamestorm cannons, getting 5 shots. This weapon automatically hits, so 5 hits. Strength 6 versus toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, getting 4 wounds. Minus 2 AP, but plus 1 thanks to the crater, so 4 5-up armor saves, passing 2 and failing 2. So 2 Necron warriors will go down. 12 shots from the twin assault cannon into the Annihilation Barge, hitting on 4s, re-rolling 1s, getting 5 hits and 3 re-rolls. And here's the re-rolls, getting 1 more hit. Strength 6 versus toughness 6 means wounding on 4s, getting 4 wounds. Minus 1 AP means 4 5-up armor saves, passing 2 and failing 2. And 1 damage apiece, so the Annihilation Barge will fall from 3 wounds down to 1. Belial is not within rapid fire range of either the warriors or the Annihilation Barge, so he will fire his Stormbolter at full range into the Annihilation Barge to try to knock off the last wound. 2 shots hitting on 2s, getting 2 hits. Strength 4 versus toughness 6 means wounding on 5s and failing to wound. This Nephilim jet fighter is about an inch too far away to be able to shoot at that squad of Necron warriors, so it will just fire everything that it has into the Ghost Arc. Starting with 2 Blacksword missile launcher shots, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 7 versus toughness 6 means wounding on 3s, getting 1 wound. Minus 3 AP, so no armor save for the Ghost Arc, and it will do 2 damage, so Quantum Shielding can deny on a 1, and it won't. So the Ghost Arc will now fall from 3 wounds down to 1 left. 10 shots from the Avenger Mega Bolter, hitting on 3s, getting 7 hits. Strength 6 versus toughness 6 means wounding on 4s, getting 5 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 5 5-up armor saves, passing 1, but failing 4. So that will finish off the Ghost Arc. Will it explode on a 6? And it will not. So this Ghost Arc is killed off and removed. This Nephilim jet fighter, slightly further back, however, is within 36-inch range of those Necron warriors, so they will fire everything into the Necron warriors. Starting with 2 Blacksword missile launcher shots, hitting on 2s, getting 1 hit. Strength 7 versus toughness 4 means wounding on a 3, and it wounds. Minus 3 AP, but plus 1 thanks to the crater means 1 6-up armor save, which passes. 6 shots from the twin heavy bolter, hitting on 2s, getting 6 hits. Strength 5 versus toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, getting 4 wounds. Minus 1 AP, but plus 1 AP thanks to the crater, so 4 4-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 3. So 3 more Necron warriors will go down. And now for the Avenger Mega Bolter, 10 shots, hitting on 2s, getting 9 hits. Strength 6 versus toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, getting 6 wounds. Minus 1 AP, but plus 1 AP thanks to the crater means 6 4-up armor saves. Wow, and they passed 4, failing only 2. So 2 more Necron warriors will go down, leaving 2 left alive in the squad. The plasma cannon from this Tactical Marine squad is just within 36 inches of the Annihilation Barge, so it will fire standard shots. So D3 standard shots, getting just one shot, hitting on a 3, and it hits. Strength 7, since it's standard, versus toughness 6, means wounding on a 3, and it wounds. Minus 3 AP, so no armor save on the Annihilation Barge, and since it's a standard shot, it only does 1 damage, so no quantum shielding. So that will finish off the 1 remaining wound on the Annihilation Barge. Will it explode on a 6? And it will not. And the Annihilation Barge has now been removed from the battlefield. Finally, this Tactical Marine squad is within 24 inches, and so they will fire everything that they have into the final 2 Necron warriors. Starting with the 1 bolt gunshot from the Sergeant, hitting on a 3, which fails to hit. And now D3 supercharged shots from the Plasma Cannon, getting just 1 shot, hitting on a 3, and it hits. Strength 8 versus toughness 4 means wounding on a 2, and it wounds. Minus 3 AP, but plus 1 thanks to the crater means 1 6-up armor save, which fails. And so 1 more Necron warrior will go down, leaving just 1 left alive in the squad. So now going into the assault phase for Dark Angels, turn 4, the Deathwing Knights are going to declare charge onto the lone Necron warrior. Starting with Overwatch first, 2 shots hitting on 6s and failing to hit. And now here's the charge range from the Deathwing Knights, getting 11 inches. And so even with going through the crater, after subtracting out the 2 inches, 9 inches was still more than enough for all 5 Deathwing Knights to form a circle around the lone Necron warrior. So, beginning with the Deathwing Knight Sergeant, called the Knight Master, and his Flail of the Unforgiven. 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, getting 2 wounds. And they are minus 3 AP, so the warrior will not have an armor save, and they are 2 damage apiece. And so the Knight Master will slay the final Necron warrior. And so that's the end of the fight phase. Going to the morale phase, there are no morale checks to take. And so I realize that it doesn't really matter at this point, but just to be a completionist, taking a look at the tactical objective cards, the Dark Angels did not secure Objective 5. They did, however, secure Objective 4 for 1 victory point. They did not complete Advance, and they did not complete Witch Hunter, and they will throw Witch Hunter away. But when the Knight Master slew the final Necron warrior, that is a tabling. And so the Necrons are completely destroyed, and we have a major victory through tabling for the Dark Angels. Neither side has Line Breaker, although that Knight Master is very close to the deployment zone, but he is not in it, so no Line Breaker for either side, and so this means we will have a final score of 3 victory points for the Dark Angels and 5 victory points for the Necrons. But even though the Necrons have more victory points, we have a Dark Angels major victory thanks to a tabling. So now that the game is over, thanks to the Dark Angels completely annihilating the Necrons through a tabling, I can go over 1 or 2 of my final thoughts on this game. And to be fair, there's not really much to go over. There's no reason for concession this time since the game actually ended through tabling. Game cannot continue any further. I will say that at the beginning of Necron's turn 4, I was thinking that there probably should be a concession from the Necrons at that point, since they only had the Ghost Ark, Annihilation Barge, and Wounded Squad of Warriors left, but decided to play it out. Maybe the Necrons could make something happen, but that turned out to be false. The Necrons were not able to do much of anything that turn. They took 4 wounds off of the Predator, and that was it. Ghost Ark didn't do a single wound to that squad of Tactical Marines, and the combined fire of the Necron Warriors and the Annihilation Barge only did 4 wounds to the Predator, and they didn't finish it off, so they weren't able to complete their tactical objective card. And there's not really much else to say other than that. So thank you so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next one.